This is the tutorial for the part 1 of Problem Solving Connections Chapter 2. So let's take a look at what they're asking here. It says the data below represents the kayak rental company's profit through the year. And so we've got Company A, Company B, Company C. And so this graph here represents their profit. Now notice what's happening. We've got our axes here. We've got the months on the x-axis and we've got profit on the y-axis. And so what I notice about this is that it doesn't start at the origin. So that tells me that if this is the first of the year, if this is like January here, this might be February. So between February and March, somewhere in this range here, that's when the company starts up. And then it looks as though the profit is going up. It's increasing quite quickly, and then it starts to taper off. And so what they're asking us to do is describe Company A. So let's go ahead and do that. And so what I would say is Company A starts up after the first of the year. I would say something about how they start off busy with profits increasing. Quickly. Then toward I would say toward early summer. Their profits level off. And they level off to the point at which they're pretty much almost constant, where they're not increasing and not decreasing here. And so that describes Company A, and notice how it just kind of stops right here. So it doesn't show that their profits just bottom out like these two companies do, but it looks as though they might not make it to the end of the year depending on how far this graph goes over. But that's a good representation of what they're showing us with this graph, where Company B is a little bit different. Definitely the shape's different. Notice how they start off with profit. And they start off at the first of the year too, if this is January. And then towards maybe March or late February, it might be February and March, somewhere in that region, they start to increase. But they're increasing at kind of a steady rate. It's not sloping as well. It's sloping upward, but it's not changing. The slope doesn't change like Company A does. It stays constant. It's a constant rate of change going upward, definitely increasing. And then it starts going really quickly up. And then it levels off, and then it starts to tank. It goes way down and all the way to zero. And so let's go ahead and come up with a description of what's happening there. So we'd say something about Company B profit stays constant, so it's level until late winter, possibly all the way into March, then begins to increase steady. Through probably through summer, or into summer, we'll say. And maybe even just late spring. And then we'll say the profits rise quickly for a short time until midsummer. And then stay constant until late summer. Then the profits fall quickly to 0. So you'll notice as I'm doing these problems, I'm kind of reading into what's actually occurring here. And so we don't know all the information. I don't even know if this is truly summer or not. I'm just assuming it is because it has to start somewhere, and the first of the year starts at January, so I'm assuming that this is at January as well. And again, we're assuming that this is all the way through the end of the year as well. And I can kind of read into it because, again, it's a kayak company, and kayaks are typically used in the summertime, so it kind of makes sense. So you have to understand what the problem is talking about, plus a little bit about the product that they're using. So let's take a look at the last one here. And notice on this one, again, if this is January right in the beginning, this is February and March. It's not starting until March, but notice this one's different than all the others. The others all started with profits near 0. This one's starting way up high at their highest profit. So this is the highest profit that they have, and it stays there. And so it stays very consistent. So they probably have loyal customers, and they probably don't need any other customers, they figure, so they like what they have, and they're pretty happy with it. And they've got a good business, so it stays very profitable up through maybe late summer, and then just drops down to 0. So they probably rent out a little bit and then eventually just kind of close up shop towards the end of the year. So that's what we're going to end up talking about here. And so let's take a look at that. So what we'll end up saying is Company C opens after the first of the year. Profits are strong but constant. So they're not changing. They're staying consistent throughout the, we'll say, kayak season. Then fall quickly to 0. So the company C definitely has some loyal customers, and they aren't looking for any extra business. They're staying pretty consistent with what they've got, and they make it through the summertime, and then they just drop off. They probably stay open a little bit for some loyal customers probably, and then just go down to 0 at the end. So that's a description of that data, and so check out part 2 for the next section.